episode 986, and we're here live in Southwest Florida at the beach today. If you are joining me live, please say hello. If you have been crafting this morning, let me know. If you've been crafting since the last time we talked, let me know. And if you have questions for me, always feel welcome to ask. If I have an answer, great. If I don't, I'll let you know I don't have an answer as well. I think that's so important. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when people answer just for the sake of answering when they don't know what they're talking about. So I do like to be really open about that if I don't have an answer for you, I will say I don't know right now. Usually it's right now. It means I need to look something up or what have you. But anyway, hi Marcia. Good morning. Hi Geraldine, hi Irene, hi Joe and Lisa, Donna, good morning. Happy Tuesday everybody. Hi Barbara. It's like 51 degrees out here and windy. It's really chilly today, and I didn't know if I'd be able to survive without it, so I even brought my Snuggie with me. You know that new, that thing that I got from Amazon, that furry, it's not even a robe. It's a blanket. It's a faux fur blanket sweater, I guess. I don't know. I love mine so much. I wear it around the house when it's chilly, and I brought it with me this morning just in case it's too windy and cold for me in regular clothes. Hi Colleen. Hi Carrie. Good morning. Welcome back to the Kristin Omdahl Show. This is episode 986. Yes, Donna, it is cold here this morning. It's 51 degrees, damp and windy. And even though it may not be 51 degrees where you're at, you're also not sitting in wet sand in the wind. So there, it's all relative. And if it was cold at your house, you wouldn't sit outside on wet ground either. So I realize 51 is probably warmer than where a lot of you are at, but you're also comfortable inside. Hi Cece, hi Kiranjit, hi G, hi Thea, good morning, hi Steffi, hi Tina. So just to start off with what I'm wearing, because I know there will be questions, I am wearing the Milly Cowl, and I'm wearing the Marengo Cardi Wrap. We talked about Cardi Wraps a little bit last night even. For those of you that did not make it to my evening show last night, we had a change of plans last minute. The weather was too rough here at the beach to do a sunset show like I normally do on Monday evenings. And so I ended up taking everything outside in the backyard and doing a washing and blocking and pinning out demonstration of a shawl and a garment last night. If you didn't get a chance to watch that, you might really enjoy it. We can't talk about stuff like that often enough because there's so much misconception and so much mystery surrounding how you take care of things that you hand make. So I do like to bring it up and talk about it often, and if you didn't get a chance to watch last night's episode, I highly recommend going back and watching it, learning how to not only evenly pin out a triangular shawl with an edging. It's so important. Talking about how to do a three-dimensional garment that ends up having two wet layers to dry is important, and just talking about the whole concept in general. And we even talked about how to use laundry bags and wash things in the washing machine, and we talked about really nice ways to present how to hand wash something when you're giving handmade items as gifts, which I think is so thoughtful, including a handmade card with washing instructions along with a laundry bag and a little bottle of soap is such a nice touch when you're gifting something that's handmade, because a lot of times when you're gifting something handmade, your gift recipient might be new to the handmade world. And so anytime you can make the information readily available in a pleasing way, I think people are more likely to be open-minded to learning something new. Does anybody have any questions about last night's show or anything in general before we talk about what I was going to talk about today? Yes, Lucy, please watch it. I think you'll enjoy it. There's a lot of information. I talked a lot, and we shared a lot of information last night. There were a lot of good questions too. Karen says she learned a lot. Wonderful. Honestly, that's the whole reason why I do this. The whole reason why I go live every day is to enhance other people's lives with one way or another. And so, Karen, that makes me feel so good that you learned a lot last night. The funny thing is, I didn't share anything new, but on any given day, there's different people watching, or there's different people in a different state of mind that are open to not only learning or retaining information. We're inundated with so much information every single day from so many angles that honestly, somebody could watch, let's say somebody watches my show every single day. But depending on how inundated you are with other information and how many stressors are going on in your life, you're not going to retain everything that you learn, even from little old me. You're not going to retain everything that I teach you every single time we're together. So that's the reason to repeat things sometimes, is because on any given day, someone is more open-minded to retaining the information than other days. And I'm not saying that just as a teacher, that's me as a student too. I take classes, I don't know if you know this, but I take classes online all the time, whether it's YouTube tutorials or Udemy, Skillshare, Masterclass, wherever I take classes, I'm constantly learning new things. And the thing is, I'm not retaining everything I learn. Once I remember that there was a thing that I learned somewhere and I'm going to use it and apply it, I have to go back and watch it again. So I'm not pointing a finger as a teacher to a student. I am a teacher and a student at all times. And so I think that's where I get that understanding that just because you teach something doesn't mean that everybody watches all at the same time or retains all the information at the same time. And so I'm happy to share with you that if you don't remember something, it's okay. It's okay. We are inundated with so much every day, all the time, that's why it's important to organize your information. Make playlists if it's videos. Make notes. Write in your journal. Make sticky notes. Whatever you need to do to be able to go back and rewatch when it becomes the application time. So like you can watch something and get a concept, but when you're ready to apply it and do it, to watch it again. You're welcome, Kiranjit. I missed a couple of comments while I was talking, but if your questions are important, please feel welcome to re-ask them. I think I read somebody saying that they yes, Lucy, everybody needs refreshers to retain information, whether it's rewatching a video or hearing it in a different format, right? I know I'm not the only knit and crochet teacher that any of you watch either, right? So you may have lots of other people that you enjoy learning from on YouTube or wherever else you like to learn. And sometimes it's about your current state of mind, the openness of your mind at the time, the amount of distractions around you, or it could be the way the teacher presented the information or the colors the teacher was using. There are so many different ways that we retain information. Sometimes you can learn something from X teacher, Y teacher, Z teacher, and those three, and then it isn't until you hear A teacher or B teacher that it finally clicks. So it could be one, and when I say that, it could be one teacher teaching something 5 or 6 times, or it could be 5 teachers teaching something in 5 different ways. There are all sorts of ways to learn. And I'm saying, what my point in saying all this is that it's okay. However, if you have a desire to learn, which I think you should give yourself a pat on the back, even if you feel the desire to learn something new. Not everybody is interested in enhancing their lives. Some people are just happy with the status quo, and that's fine too. But if you have a yearning for more information or to improve your skills, I want you to give yourself a hug or a pat on the back right now, because that's the first step. you have to want it, right? So first you have to want it, then you have to be open to it. And again, because of so many things going around us at all times, whether it's inundation of information or stressors in our lives or stressors in people or this or that or the other thing, you have to have an open mind, and some days we aren't as open-minded as others. And so there are all of these factors that are at play when you go to want to learn something new. So it could be the fact that I've talked about something 5 times, 6 times, 10 times, or it could be you heard the same information you've heard from me 10 times, but you heard it from a different teacher. Sometimes it takes just that slightly different je ne sais quoi to be able to retain the information. So maybe it was just being in my backyard last night. We don't always do shows in the backyard, out with the trees, and so sometimes it's just getting a slightly different perspective that helps. Wow, I'm warming up. Thank goodness it was so cold when I got here, but I do have my Snuggie in my lap instead of wearing it, which is almost as good, especially since my feet are bare, since I wore small shoes today. Okay, so that's okay, Karen. You know, your mom learned her own ways of doing things, and you know, maybe she made things that you didn't wear. Maybe she made doilies, and maybe she made Afghans, and maybe she made things that you didn't get dirty, and that's okay. And there are different, you know, maybe your mom didn't make garments. When you make garments, you have to think of them more than just the fact that they're handmade. You have to think about them in a practical sense too. And it's possible, if your mom never taught you that it's because she didn't make things that you washed and reused. She may have made doilies that you stiffened and then you dusted once you set them out, right? That's very possible. Now, thinking about that, I think that doilies probably should get washed still, but once they're stiffened, you would actually have to go through the whole process, especially if it was glue and water. It probably dissolves when you soak it and launder it, so you would have to go through that whole process again as well, I think. Not sure. But again, depending on what you're using something for. If you're using something that's not going to technically get dirty and you're not going to wear it, that may require a different level of laundering. Oh, thank you, Judy. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Does anybody have any other questions about laundering, washing, blocking, anything to do with taking care of your handmaids after you make them? Because it is an important subject, and doing things with the most respect for your handmade items allows you to have the longest lifespan of your handmade items. So it is an important subject. It's not always, we don't talk about it often, but I do feel like if you have questions about it, I'm always open to talking about it. So if you have any questions, let me know before I move on to something. Oh, wow, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe, for the super chat. My goodness, I appreciate it so much, you guys. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, Karen, you know, that's something else entirely, and I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I'm surprised. I don't know what to say about that. But today, I happen to wear my handmade items a lot when I do. So for me, it's important to hand wash them. And I know a lot of you wear your hand items regularly, whether it's garments that we've made together, or shawls we've made together, or earrings we've made together. I'm not wearing handmade earrings today, but I'll tell you what, my handmade earrings get makeup on them. So like my Kelly earrings, they rub across my face and they get makeup on them, and they need to be washed. So regardless of how you learned or who taught you, I'm not disrespecting anybody. And if you were taught how to knit and crochet from someone that never washed something, never blocked something, never did anything like that, no disrespect whatsoever. But here today in January 2020, when I wear my handmade items, they get dirty, whether it's from my makeup or the oils on my skin or sweat or food or anything. And so it is important to learn how to hand wash your items, not just the first time when you make them, but as you wear them. And how lucky are we that when we make something handmade, we love it so much that we wear it more than once. That deserves a round of applause in the first place, right? I think that's really special in the first place. I remember when I first started to teach knit and crochet, oh gosh, almost 20 years ago. I remember teaching classes where people would say, I love to make things, but I have no idea how to wear them, or I just give them away because I don't know how to wear them. And so there might be that aspect too, and that's one of the reasons why I have been so passionate about teaching how to style and wear your handmade items. And those of you that have been following me for a long time know how passionate I am about that, and know how much time and energy I take teaching styling, and it's because of those students that I had many years ago that would say, I don't know how to wear a shawl. I don't know how to wear something I handmade. And sometimes it was because of using yarns that weren't necessarily beautiful to wear. They weren't figure flattering, which is why my inspiration for having drapey yarns was so important to me all these years later. Because if you're making something that ends up being stiff and doesn't look flattering on, no, you're not going to want to wear it. And if you're not going to want to wear it, it's not going to get dirty. All right, any other questions before I move on? I kind of have a secret to share today. And I didn't even think it through whether it was time to share the secret or not. But I'm also really anxious to share some of it with you, and it has to do with the types of questions that came during the live premiere of the Milly Cowl video. Yes, CC, yes, exactly, and that's so important to me. I don't know if I'm saying GC. I might say GC. I might have missed the G. I apologize. I know some people don't like it when I mispronounce your names, but you know, I do the best I can, and I'm sorry if I say it wrong, but I certainly don't intend to. It's Grace. That might be even harder to remember then. When someone uses a different name than their real name, that's even harder for me to remember, but I'll try. Oh, it's Grace. Okay. Oh, I get it for your initials now. Grace C. Yes. Yes. Okay. Brain. Retain this information. Brain. Retain it. I'm going to try. Thank you all so much for helping me. I appreciate it. Today is the first day I drove in almost 10 days. Isn't that exciting? And you know, I live with a teenager because my seat was in the wrong position and my gas tank is almost empty. Those of you that have teenagers or have had teenagers in your house will appreciate and chuckle at that. It's been 10 days since I've driven my car, and I got a little laugh out of that this morning. It's like, why is my seat so far forward? I sit with my seat very far back for my legs, and I never have my gas tank under a quarter tank. And I do recall getting gas recently-ish before I fell and hurt my head. So I got a kick out of that this morning. And I was also very excited to be back in my car. I feel like that is such a huge level of accomplishment. Anytime you get hurt and you lose your freedoms and you lose your perks in your life, it makes it that much sweeter when you can get them back. And I am so happy to be driving again today. And you know we're going to go on a road trip again soon. I had so much fun taking you guys to the Miyaka River State Park a few weeks ago. And I don't think we have to go 90 minutes away to explore more areas. But as soon as I get my sea legs back, so to speak, as soon as I feel up to it, I do want to start exploring more areas. It's funny, there was a comment that came through saying I'm glad and then the rest of it, and I was trying to say explore and I read the letters I am and I said implore instead of saying explore. It's so funny the way your brain works when you're reading comments while trying to speak at the same time. It's challenging, but I'm so glad for the experience. Yeah, Carla, you remember having teenagers in the house, right? Things that you put in place don't always stay in place. Anyway, it's okay. It happens. All right, so are we ready to talk about my secret? And what I'm going to share with you today it doesn't require, but I'm going to respectfully request that you share your thoughts about it in the recorded comments in the video after we're no longer live, because I won't get a chance to retain all of the information from the live stream. So I'll start with why I want to share it with you now. It's been a project. Grace and Judy know this project. It's been something that I've been working on for months. And it has to do with my new book that I'm working on. But I do feel like this style of book is something that I want to teach as classes, because it's such important information, and the book is a different style of book than I've ever written before. Ever written before? Not true. Not true. I have written this style of book before. It's a Stitch reference dictionary style book, but it is different than any Stitch book you've ever had. And I've been wanting to do this for years. I've been talking about doing it for years, and I get sidetracked and do something else instead. Or I start it and then don't keep up with it, and blah, blah, blah. I did do this, some PDF tutorials a couple years ago with simple stitches, but anyway, so this style of book, it's going to end up being volumes. It's not going to be one standalone book, but each book is standalone. So whichever stitches you like, you could order any individual of the book. There's only one book written at the moment, though. We're in the beginning of the editing process. But separate from the book, it's something that I would really like to teach in classes, so we could take a deep dive into each one. And it was funny because during the video for the Milly Cowl the other day, there were people asking in the live premiere of the video, oh, I'd really like to make that in a shawl. How could I do that? And I'll tell you what, anytime I teach a stitch pattern flat in rows, or even in the round, or increasing for a top down triangle, or worked increase in the round for a square or a circle or some other shape, no matter which way I show a stitch pattern, there will be people that say, oh, I'd really like to do that in a different way. And I get that. So that has been the inspiration. Are you ready? We could use a drum roll here, because I am that excited about sharing this with you, because I feel like it's so much closer. I'm so much closer than I've ever been to this before. Okay, let's start with the Milly Cowl. So the Milly Cowl takes this beautiful stitch pattern and it works it even in the round. Now, working even in the round is different than working even in rows. And those of you, many of you know what I'm talking about. So when you work a stitch pattern, this stitch pattern worked even in rounds. So here is a small sample of the cowl that I'm working on. When you're working in rounds, oftentimes it is a multiple of a stitch pattern, but without a plus blah, 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 because you need the plus blah, blah, blah for working even in rows. So the multiple becomes different when you're doing it even in rounds versus even in rows, okay? So just to be able to learn that difference with charts and written instructions would be really helpful in a stitch dictionary. Wouldn't you say? If I only taught these two things in the stitch dictionary, it would still be double the information you get in almost every stitch dictionary you already own, right? Just if we stuck to even in rows and even in rounds, right there, that would be, oh my gosh, Cinderella, 50 Canadian dollars. It's my first Canadian tip even. Thank you so much. I'm so humbled by your gifts. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. Okay, so you ready? So this would already be double of anything you would ever get in a stitch dictionary, right? But wait, there's more. What if I also gave you charts and written instructions to do top-down increasing triangle in the stitch pattern, plus tell you which rows are the ones that you repeat for every additional repeat, and tell you how many times you change that multiple on the increasing rows for each repeat. Okay, so now what if in the Stitch Dictionary I shared with you working even in rows, working even in rounds, working increase in rows? Already that would be triple anything you've ever gotten in a Stitch Dictionary before, right? That would be triple anything you've ever gotten before. So you'd be happy with triple, right? But wait, there's more. Because just like working even in rows to even in rounds, there are differences. There are also differences between working increase in rounds versus increase in rows. So now you can learn increases in rounds to make either a square, a hexagon, an octagon. No matter, depending on how many times you want to, this is an increase of 4 repeats to make a square. 4 sides is a square. You could do that with 6 sides for an hexagon, 8 sides for an octagon. And same with the top-down increasing triangle. The reason why I call it increase in rows and increase in rounds is because, yes, this is triangle because I did 2 repeats. But what if you did 3 repeats? It would be a half hexagon shawl. 4 repeats would be like a 4-sided, more of a cape that came forward. So either one of these have so many applications, right? So what do you think of that? What do you think? So in each one of these would come with written instructions and also information on which rows you repeat and by how many times you repeat them to be able to continue on. And then it will come with, it's like earning a PhD in crocheting. Wow, thank you, Grace. Thank you. And then I'll show you, here's an example of where I took this pattern and worked it increase in rounds to make a baby blanket. Isn't that beautiful? So that's this pattern, but instead of working even in rounds, I did it in increase in rounds. So that's the concept of the book. And I think the first volume will probably have 20 stitch patterns, but within that 20 stitch patterns, there'll be the 4 versions plus information, plus all the information on how to do it with written instructions and charts, and then how to apply it to making bigger things than what is written in the instructions. So it's a stitch dictionary. It's not written, it's not finished patterns, but it will show you how to take them and continue on. And then there will also be a reference section in the book giving you standard sizes of squares, standard sizes of triangles, standard sizes of tubes, standard sizes of flat pieces to make scarves, afghans, cowls, hats, all those types of things. Oh my gosh, Donna, thank you. So you guys are excited too, right? Wonderful. So now, as a book, I think it's going to be amazing. As a volume of books, I think it's going to be the best volume of crochet books on the market. But in addition to that, what do you think of making classes for individual? What do you think of making classes that are individual to the stitch pattern? So for example, doing a class for Milly where you would learn how to do this stitch pattern and how to read the chart and follow the instructions to make these swatches for increase in, or even in the round, even in rows, increase in rows, and increase in rounds. Wouldn't that be fun too if I set up the classes as a separate class for each stitch pattern? I'll give you an example. I brought another one with me today. So Marengo is another stitch pattern in this first volume, and Marengo is the beautiful cardi wrap that I'm wearing today. And so the class and the section of the book, and if you take the class, there'll probably be a discount on the book or vice versa. I don't know how I'll work that out yet. Or you'll definitely get the class material for that individual stitch pattern. But anyway, I'll figure all that out. So here is working even in rows in the Marengo stitch pattern. And there's how to work it even in the round. Okay, so already you could do a scarf, a shawl, the cardi wrap, or now you could do a cowl or a hat. Then top down increasing triangle, increase in rows, so then you could make a shawl or a kerchief scarf or a headscarf, and then increase in rounds so that you could make a big square shawl, or you could make a baby blanket, or you could make an afghan or a table runner, or motifs that you could join together. You could make these motifs and join them together as well. So in the Marengo stitch pattern, you would learn the charts and the written instructions for all 4 of these shapes. And then in the class, we would actually do it together so that we would go over the chart and the written instructions. In the round for a sleeve, yes, all of this could be applied to garments as well, but that's just a whole different animal, and I did not think that adding top-down raglan shaping was applicable to this particular stitch dictionary. If I end up doing that, I will make a separate book showing you how to do a top-down, a yoke in any of these stitch patterns, because that is actually something different than all of this. Thanks, Tammy. Thank you. So the book is written. We are in the editing process now, and you know that still takes some time, but as I get the stitch patterns edited, I would like to extract them from the book and start doing the classes, because you don't need the whole book to really get to really start diving into each one of these. So you could learn them with me as classes, and then when the book comes out, then you'll have a handy resource for where all of them are at. And you'll also have the newfound skills from taking the classes with me. So my question to you is, number 1, are you excited about the book? Do you like the concept of the book? And number 2 is, would you like me to start teaching the classes now before the book comes out? Because I do think that it's information that you could run with now. And if you don't mind answering these questions after we're done, we're not live anymore, so that I have the ability to read them when I go home today, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. You know, like I always say, there's no point in me doing anything if it's not with your blessing, right? This is my job, and this is how I put food on the table and keep a roof over my head and Marlon's head. And so if you're not happy with the way that I teach or the things that I sell, there's no point in doing it, because I do this to make money and keep myself fed and covered with a roof. So the reason why I ask, I know sometimes people don't like me talking about money, and I get that, but guess what? We all at some point need money to live, and this is my only source of surviving, is doing what I do through my website. So yes, am I eternally grateful for anybody that leaves me a tip here? Obviously. I mean, every little bit counts. What I do is not easy. What I do is extremely labor intensive. What I do comes with absolutely no guarantees that it's going to work. And I've been doing this a really long time, and sometimes working, and you know, I don't think sometimes people understand that I don't work 100 hours a week because I want to. I do it to keep enough money coming in to keep a roof over my head and to keep my family fed. Like, I don't like talking about this stuff often because it makes me feel extremely vulnerable to say that I work hard because I need to, but I work hard because I need to. I haven't taken a vacation in over a decade. I don't do other things that other people do because I work so hard, because my job is not guaranteed. You know what I mean? So, and again, I don't like to be this vulnerable, but that's why it's so important to me that when I talk about a new project, if you guys aren't into it, let me know. If you're not going to buy it, let me know, and I'll do something else. Like, I do this to keep a roof over my head, and I am really excited about all this, but if you guys aren't excited about it, it doesn't matter. So if you don't mind sharing with me when the show is no longer live, when it's regular recorded comments, let me know if you're excited about the classes or the book or both or any aspect of what I talked about today, because your opinion matters so much. If it's not something that you'd be interested in me selling, then I'll try to move on to something else. Yeah, you know what? This is the hardest part of being vulnerable on social media, because now that I've said that, I open myself up to so many other levels of judgment, and the very next time someone gets mad at me about X, Y, and Z, they'll throw this in my face. So I mean, it's tough, but I love what I do. I love sharing my enthusiasm for life, style, fashion, and crafts with you so much. And as long as you're willing to stick with me, we can all do this together. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing up at the show every day. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting me through pattern sales and yarn sales and everything else you do to support me, for sharing my business with your friends and sharing what I do with other people. Because without you, I wouldn't be able to survive. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And again, if you want to share your thoughts and your opinions on the projects that I'm working on right now, I would love to hear from you. And if you don't want to share, that's fine too. There's no requirements to be here. Nobody is forced to come here with me. Nobody is forced to learn from me. So if you don't like what I'm doing, that's okay. And if you don't like everything I do, that's okay too. You don't have to like everything someone does to still like them as well. That's an important point. You can like part of what they do, and so pick the things you like and leave the rest, right? Now I'm gone off on a tangent that has nothing to do with right now. So I'm just going to say thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend a few minutes here with me. I hope you enjoyed being back at the beach. I hope you enjoyed the sunrise, the sound of the waves, chatting with me and everyone else, and all of my show and tells today. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next episode of the Kristin Omdahl Show. Bye-bye.